Tom, welcome back to the Siobhan Lou Show. I feel like, is this the third time you've been on my show?
Yeah, I think it is. I think it's number 3 now, which is cool. What a privilege it is.
Oh, thank you. And this show, can I just say, like in terms of my community, everyone's been waiting for me to talk about it. I've been teasing people, talking about this hormonal reset that we've been doing. And it's something that I wanted to share as a podcast so we can talk from experience. Like I didn't want to, share my journey on the way because I really wanted to see what would happen and what the results were and how we got on. And you decided to do it with me as support.
I know. Well, I think it was something. I mean, you've done a few of these things. With your history in bodybuilding, and and I think you've just always been interested in eating healthily, nutrition. Of all the stories that you told me of how you used to ask your mum to only cook healthy food and all that kind of thing. Whereas I developed a need for food, and I love shit food so much. I love pizza and fish and chips and just anything. I don't have a sweet tooth, but I just love lots and lots of food. And I could always justify that because I would train so hard. But I felt like you were having issues with your period pain, and you wanted to sort out your hormones and your hot and cold flushes and things. And
yeah,
Mac's obviously a great friend of ours, and we both wanted to do it when we were hanging out with him in Bali, but I think financially now we were capable of doing it. And I thought it was a great opportunity for me to just give it a go as well, not necessarily because I had physiological issues that I wanted to fix, even though I obviously did. But from the mental side of things, it was more of a mental challenge, as all the listeners are about to find out.
I know.
God, it was tough for me. But yeah, it was fantastic. It's good to be on the other side before we've even got our results for our DNA. So even just doing the reset was great.
Yeah. And I also, I just want to start off by saying before we really get into like the nitty gritty of the reset and the start of the show is this, Mac is our friend, and he's been our friend for years. And he's also been doing this program for years, but it's just never, it just was never the right time to do it, and now I've done it. I obviously wish I did it years ago, but this was the right time. So that's what I wanted to say firstly. Secondly, this is a lot to do around nutrition and hormones. I've been in the fitness and nutrition industry for 18 years. Fuck, I sound old. So, I have done thorough research on it. And I've also had extreme period pains since, for that long as well. And the way it was working is, I would have had to get probably an operation. That's the way it was going to go. But I'm all about, as everyone knows, the root cause, like what is the root cause? So I thought I would start by going down the nutrition route because, food is our medicine, obviously. And starting with that and just seeing, just doing it as a test for myself to see, hey, is this work? Like, would this work? And it actually came up, believe it or not, in one of my breathwork sessions, when I really set the intention of where is my period pain coming from? How can I help it? What am I doing? Like, I was just desperate because it was taking out like 3 or 4 days a month of my life of just being in so much pain, lying in bed. I mean, you went through this with me, pain, nonstop painkillers, which I can't stand taking, hot water bottle, not being able to work. It was just, and I actually just got to the point thinking it was normal. But it came up in a breathwork session to do this program. And I always roll with what my breath tells me, obviously. So yeah, we jump into the program, and yeah, it was bloody hard, but really, really amazing stuff. And Mac has probably the most incredible knowledge in terms of hormones and the most incredible feedback and reviews, testimonials from all his clients, female and male. And they're just fascinating, just reading through them. And even when we were doing the program, we're on a private Facebook group. And one of the girls, when I was on day 5 or day 6, when it was getting really tough, said how, she got her period and didn't even know, because, normally she would have so much pain knowing it's coming, and she got it and didn't know and had to run home and was like so excited. And I just had like happy tears thinking, fuck, am I going to be like this on day 14? Like, is it going to help me? What's going to happen? So yeah, it's super motivating, super cool bunch of people that are still doing it when we were doing it. And yeah, it was just really motivating. So yeah, I just wanted to say all that before we jump in, before anyone, thinks that we're just talking this
endorsing
shit up.
Our friend and talking it up. And I think we are obviously endorsing.
We are now, because it fucking
friends.
Works.
Totally. And I think it's also important to say that it was quite a leap of faith for you because, by all accounts, you eat healthily. So when someone is listening to this and thinking, Siobhan did it, her diet sounds like it was awful, because we're obviously going to be talking about some principles that are almost common knowledge in this day and age. The hormone reset was an elimination of wheat and dairy and sugar and alcohol and fruits and lots of little things here and there, which, you and I almost didn't realize were unhealthy for you. So people will hear that and go, but I eat healthily. I don't have a whole lot of that stuff. You eat as healthy as someone can eat, so it was quite a leap of faith for you to do this reset, knowing that you were already kind of there.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So I'm just trying to say, don't think that just because you eat healthy, then whatever you're going through can't be as a result of your diet. Because you might not actually know the little things that are actually contributing significantly to whatever you're experiencing. And for someone now you told me this, and I don't want to give anything away too quickly because we'll talk about it, but you said to me that when you got your period, the pain was no longer an 11 out of 10, it was a 6 out of 10. And you could sit in a restaurant without pain, you didn't have any medication, and we slept through the night. Now, going back to literally last period where 4 a.m. always, we're talking about whether or not we should call the hospital to take you to emergency. That is a phenomenal change in 14 days. And and for someone to have already been eating healthily, but then fix up a few little things there is just unbelievable. So basically what I'm trying to say is for everyone listening to this, that it might not be period, it might be, if you're a male, whatever symptoms you're experiencing, but every little thing counts.
It really does.
And try not to leave any stone unturned and do things to the absolute maximum so that you can tick that off and say, no, it's definitely not my diet because I've done that.
Yeah, it's so true. And just like saying that, so the way this reset works is it's a 2-week program and you are eliminating certain food groups, which I've actually never done. I'm all about eating a whole range of foods, making sure my diet's filled with, whatever doesn't really feel that good, I don't eat it. So meat for me, I've not had meat in maybe 7 years and I feel bloody incredible from cutting it out. Again, I'm not saying to people, cut out meat, you'll feel good, because some things make you feel amazing. Meat didn't make me feel good. But I've never cut out, I eat gluten. I've never cut out sugar. I still have sugar. I love red wine, as we all know. I still would have a glass of red wine. But this 2 weeks was, it was quite strict in terms of just getting rid of dairy, gluten, sugar, and, certain groups for us, specifically for this program. So with cutting them out, obviously, I felt the changes of going through withdrawals. So, like your typical drug addict going through withdrawal symptoms, like you got kind of migraines, felt so tired because obviously the body's going through a change, kind of similar to breath work. When you do that first 10 minutes, it's fucking hard work. Same as anything, change is hard. This stuff is not for the faint-hearted, put it that way, but depends how bad the pain, like my period pain was so bad. I was like, I'll do anything. So yeah, experiencing all the withdrawals, changing my diet. But at the same time, in terms of changing my diet, I have never ate so much food in my whole life. So it wasn't a restriction. This is why I'm not saying it's a diet, it's a reset. There was no restriction on the food. There was foods where we were allowed, and we were allowed as much as we wanted. And I went ham on that. I'm like, okay. And then to the point when my hormones started to kind of even out, then I was really full. And then I didn't want as much food because I felt like they were balancing. And this is just, again, my personal experience with it. And the first thing for me I noticed is I always get really like hot flushes all the time because of my hormones. So I would get out of like a cold shower, warm shower, hot shower, and immediately I'd be sweating. Like I would just be so hot and I'd have to wait to cool down. And I think was it day 4 or day 5? I got out of the shower and I was like, I was waiting to get hot. I was like, I'm not hot. Like, what's going on? Like, I was like, is this like the first change? And I was like, okay. So I kind of went with it, got ready straight away. I didn't have that kind of like cool down time. And then the second day was the same, and then the same and the same. And I just stopped getting flushes. I was like, what the hell is going on? And then obviously the next thing I noticed was, a slight, like weight loss, like my clothes felt a little bit baggier. And can I just say, I was not doing this for weight loss purposes, but this was just, this was kind of a part of the program. That was the next thing I noticed, was just obviously for me, I think it wasn't more weight loss. I actually think it was inflammation. Yeah. Like, because the foods are really anti-inflammatory. Like there's not many carbs in there, the sugars that inflame you. So I was definitely drinking heaps more water as well, which I'm like, I drink so much water. Like I have a bottle next to me right now with my kombucha, and I always drink a heap of water, but I don't actually drink as much as I thought I did. So that was another thing, drinking more water. And then we planned it so day 14 was like our refeed day, which was your birthday. And day 14 was also when my period was due, which was the kind of the massive deal for me. So on day 14, we were at a restaurant for Tom's birthday, and I got my period, and I was like, wait a minute, where's the pain telling me, hey, Siobhan, the aliens in your belly attacking you, your period's about to come? And it just wasn't there. And then I got my period, and I'm like, okay. So I was sitting in the restaurant with like my family, Tom's family, and I was like waiting. Like I get quite anxious as well before my period, as you know, because I'm like, oh my God, is it going to be sore? Like I need to have my bed close by. Like how long till I get home? Is the hot water bottle ready? Have I got painkillers? Like it's just, when I think about it now, it's like, that's a lot of thoughts to have for something that I don't need to be having. And I just sat in the restaurant waiting for the pain, and there was nothing. Like, obviously there was slight discomfort, because I'm not going to say it's completely fucking cured. It was discomfort. Not yet. But there was nothing. So I sat in the restaurant, I had a meal, and it was day 14. So I had a glass of wine. And then we went to another bar. Like, this is just not normal for me. When my period comes, like I'm straight home, I'm in bed. The day is like a total write-off. And then that night, I always prepare myself like hot water bottle ready to wake up at 4 a.m., which is normal for me. And I'm awake for probably about 3 hours. Literally, myself and Tom just go back and forth, being like, do we call the hospital? Do we go to emergency? Do we, keep going? And then I woke up at literally 6 in the morning, full of energy, being like, let's take the dogs on a hike. Like, not normal. So from just changing these little like tweaks in my diet, cutting out the inflammation, I literally reset my hormones in 2 weeks. Like, I was in this for the long haul as well, because, the program carries on from a reset to introducing the foods again. So just keep in mind that we do introduce the foods again to see how the body reacts, to getting our DNA done, which myself and Tom did. So we got our DNA done, get it sent away, which I am so bloody excited for. They actually just received it today. Did you get that email?
Yeah, I saw that. I saw your text first, but so 3 weeks.
Yeah, so they got our DNA today. 3 weeks time, we get our results, and that tells us everything, like foods that we might be even allergic to that are maybe not the best for our DNA, exercise that suits our DNA. So I'm obviously still carrying on the journey now, reintroducing the other foods. So the first one was starch. And the thing I responded bad to, which I used to eat every single day, was fucking pumpkin. I had a square of pumpkin and my whole belly bloated. Felt like bloody Santa Claus. I was rolling around. I was in so much pain. I'm like, I eat that every day. Like, how did I, you're not aware until you start cutting it out. So yeah, that's what we're in the process of now. So yeah, that 2 weeks did something. I don't even care what. I just don't care what it did. It did something to the point that I'm like, something's going on with medicine, food, hormones that's helping me, and I'm all about it.
Totally. It's so true. Yeah, so I think it's important to give some context for listeners and or viewers. So basically, you're guided the whole way through by Mac and the Unrivaled Tribe. It's not just like, hey, do this thing, and then you're left to your own vices. You get a video a day. It was so cool because Mac and I we used to work for a travel company, and he was asking me about, should I be giving this much information to people when they're doing the program? This is 4 years ago, back in late 2017. It was actually in Iceland, and at the time we kind of came to the agreement that it was just too much information for people. But then seeing the transformation and the evolution of the business and how you just get one really high professional, really good quality video for every day throughout the hormonal reset. So you actually learn about what's going on. So, I've never really been interested in nutrition. I've always been interested in philosophy. I've been interested in exercise and strength conditioning, and now jiu-jitsu, which I just annoy you about. But
I'm like, move on.
But Mac's ability to teach in a really easy way. He talks about the different hormones and what's going on when you have too many carbohydrates and insulin spikes, and that leads to energy dumps in the afternoon, and all these things. Like, oh, this is why this happens to me, or this is why, hair loss might be a factor for me, or poor mood in the mornings, or the carb withdrawal flu when you're doing a reset like this, which we'll get into. But the program's really fantastic because you're in a Facebook group, number one. And, any guys listening to this, it's predominantly women because that's who the business targets. It's for, women with period pain issues, PCOS. This is kind of like the demographic they go for. But it's anyone can benefit from a hormone reset, getting back to the way the healthiest way we can eat, not necessarily the way that we used to eat. But you get a video every day. You feel very, very safe in the Facebook group because everyone's going through it with you. There's no one in there that is like, oh, I'm on my 16th hormonal reset. Everyone's like, oh, no. Can we have this food? How's everybody feeling? There's always a live. Matt goes live with Steph, his lovely partner. And you just feel very, very guided, like someone's holding your hand through it. And I think I really needed that. I think you're very good. You're very independent. It's one of the things I love about you. You've done these things before. This was really kind of challenging for me. So it was just nice to see different people kind of moving through the same experiences, irrespective of their gender or what they were actually trying to fix themselves, So we're all kind of moving through it together. So yeah.
Yeah, and as well on that point, like how Tom said, you get a video a day. There's a Facebook group, there to help you, and they share their recipes, which I've stolen because they're so bloody good. And the other thing with that is Mac at the start as well gave us two options. He's like, this is where we're very different. You're either going to be the type of the person that looks at the food groups you can have and you just go and you roll with that and that's what you do. Or you're the type of person who watches the videos every day, who reads up on all the background stuff and does, follows along with the stuff. I didn't watch, sorry, Mac, if you're listening, he doesn't care. He gave us the option. I didn't watch, and I still haven't watched one video. I didn't read anything apart from what I was allowed. I just didn't really get involved. I'm like, just tell me what I can do and I'm going to roll with it. And that's my mission. Now that I've done it, I'm like, okay, I'll probably go watch other videos now. But there's that two options of finding every single little thing out about it, which I'm like, yeah, whatever. Or just, this is what you need to do, go and do it. So whatever type of person you are, Tom's the type of person that likes to really look into it, read into it. The thing that I did love is they go, they do the Facebook Live once a week, and everyone's just in there asking questions, having a chat, saying how they're feeling. I love them. Like, I can get involved. I thought that was really cool, just asking questions and them being available to answer it. And, like I said, I am super independent. So the way I probably deliver this to everyone is like, oh yeah, this is what you do. This is the foods, and you go with it. But not really in terms of the way Tom talks about it. Is they're supporting you the whole way through it. There's a Facebook group that you can just jump in and ask questions, and everyone's there to support you. And you might be thinking, oh, it's just 2 weeks. It's a long 2 weeks. But do you want to talk about what came up for you? What came up for you? Tom has a really interesting 2 weeks.
Yeah. Well, I was just chatting with a mate before about it because he's really interested in nutrition, and I always, my relationship with food has always been volatile, I suppose is probably the correct word to say that. You've always 80% of your diet, I would say, you eat to live as opposed to like living to eat. Yeah. You've always been like, what are the health benefits of this? How is my diet going to support me in the pursuit of my endeavors and things like that? Whereas I've really, and it's not, I don't want to be too hard on myself and say that, I've had a terrible addiction to food and all that kind of stuff. Because I'm fit and healthy, and I'm quite thin. But it's always been, if I'm bored, what's in the fridge? I think a lot of people can relate to that. Siobhan, you want to go somewhere? Let's make a day that I'll buy lunch. Or is that food is used as which I think it's good to use food as a celebration, so long as you're in control, not the food. And I don't think I was ever really in control of that. So as I said, I did this to support you with your period pain and what you wanted out of it. And then I also did it to challenge myself. Anyway, I think, you and I had done that 3-day veggie broth fast, which was difficult for the both of us. And we probably watched more Outlander than anyone could possibly watch in 72 hours. But because of the length of this, I started to lose hope. Like, it was like 14 days. And when you're like day 6, day 7, and you're going through that really difficult withdrawal phase, it was shocking. I think like day 6, day 7, I think I came to you in the morning and I said, look, I'm going to be a bad person for you today. So try to minimize the time spent with me. I'm going to lock myself in the front of the house. I'm taking a day off. I'm going to watch all of the Lord of the Rings movies, and I'm just going to try not to talk to you, because everything I say to you is probably going to be really negative, perhaps even mean, because I was just struggling so heavily. But in terms of my experience, I went through a complete mental health shift. I went through like a temporary crisis of identity. I was questioning everything. I was questioning my purpose, my relationship. I was questioning Warrigal. I was questioning the dogs. I was questioning, it was amazing. And it was so fascinating for me, who has a background in counseling, and has always been interested in helping people cultivate a sense of identity that they are proud of, by getting locked into a purpose that's meaningful and all this kind of stuff, and the changes that can go on in your head as a result of changing how you eat. So you and I are obviously very interested in emotional, physiological healing through trauma healing and breath work, and how actually moving the body and doing things with the body can affect the mind, as opposed to just talking about something, which can also be useful as well. But changing how you eat and how that has a massive effect on how you think. And it will sound counterintuitive to people, because people will be like, what? But, it sounds like you've never been eating healthier, and yet your mental health took such a sharp plummet. And that's true. But I think what it showed me was how susceptible I am, and how much my mood is influenced by the food that I eat. So what it showed me wasn't necessarily like good food equals good mental health. It was Tom Ahern's relationship with food isn't where it needs to be. And now that I'm on the other side of it, my consciousness surrounding what goes into my mouth Has that got sunflower oil in it? Has that got canola oil in it?
Yeah.
How much carbohydrate have I had today? What's my fasting been like? It all sounds a lot. I'm not trying to say, you have to be like meticulous for the rest of your life, but it makes you feel so much more responsible.
It's awareness.
It's awareness.
It's
totally.
Awareness. Yeah.
Totally. And using food to augment what you want to do in life, as opposed to just needing it like a drug or something, has been a massive shift. But literally the day, like my birthday, I had 2 roasts that day. My parents bought me a roast. I was like, fuck it, I'm going to get another one. That's a free feed. And I was back to normal, and I just apologized to you like 50 times. I was like, hey, just remember, nothing that I was saying to you was normal. That was all not me, and but it was so fascinating. You were just hilarious the way you were just like listening to it and going, and I could like looking back on it now, in the back of your head, you were like, this guy's totally not in his right mind. But it was an amazing experience. Like now that I know that that's what my diet, taking yourself out of it and seeing that with a different perspective, I'm like, okay, I really want to be much more on with my diet now, because it's so powerful.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it was so powerful for both of us. But do you want to tell everyone listening, like, just, like the benefits you start to see, like after however many days, like as the 2 weeks went on, because you had a lot of shifts too, physically as well as mentally. So that maybe the physical shifts that you saw.
Yeah. So so the first couple of days were not too bad. I remember you saying, I feel fine, I feel normal, all that kind of stuff. And I kind of felt that way too. About day 3 in, because I'm taking my jiu-jitsu really seriously at the moment, because I want to compete at the end of the year. Day 3 I was rolling with someone. So it's basically like, doing rounds in jiu-jitsu. And after about 2 minutes, I hit a massive wall and I couldn't move. So I basically just had to cop being choked out for like 3 minutes because I just couldn't do anything. I just hit a massive, that expression when you hit a wall basically means all your glycogen, your energy source has been depleted. And I'd never experienced that. I don't think I ever read about it, but that happened to me massive. I just couldn't move anymore. And that's when you see the marathon runners and they're all like trying to run over the line.
They're drunk.
Exactly. They look drunk. Yeah. I totally felt like that. But when I moved through the carbohydrate withdrawal, flu, as they say, you experience the symptoms of the flu because your body's trying to release all of that. I woke up every morning like I'd had 12 hours sleep. I felt sharp as I just had a coffee.
Yeah.
I felt really excited about things. Like I was just really, really happy. I was like, I'm ready to get into my to-dos, which makes me happy anyway. But even for me, what I struggle with is not doing anything. And I was like, oh, fuck yeah, Sunday. I'm happy just doing nothing. But I was just happy. And the other thing was then going back and training now that my predominant energy source had switched from carbohydrates to fats and protein. You couldn't stop me. Like I'm doing 12-minute rounds and I have barely exhausted myself. Like my energy is just unbelievable on the jiu-jitsu mat, and this is another thing getting a little bit fairer on the old top. So, apparently this can be good for hair loss as well. So we'll see in a couple of months.
And your nose as well. Tell me about your breathing.
Totally forgot about that. Yeah. I've never been able to breathe through my nose. I went to an ear, nose and throat specialist once and they said, it's because you have a deviated septum. You might need to get the surgery to align it. This is a genetic thing. Obviously, there's not much you can do about it. The surgery doesn't always work. The surgery is $10,000. So this is all lovely to hear that, there's nothing you can do. Removes all the autonomy and the power that I can possess. Anyway, completely cutting out dairy and wheat and sugar and alcohol and fruits. And I can breathe perfectly through my nose. And you and I always look back at my old videos when I first started doing YouTube, and I sound like that, for everyone listening, I've just put my fingers over my nose. I just sound like this,
Well, just go back to Tom's really old YouTube videos and listen to the way he talks. And then after the reset, like you could breathe. Like that was probably what, inflammation around like your throat and your nose.
Yeah, mucus.
Yeah. So, it really was medicine for that 2 weeks for both of us.
Totally.
But we had no idea what to expect. We're like, yeah, we'll just give it a go. It was 2 weeks. And like 2 weeks and it's literally life-changing shit,
Exactly. Yeah, we want to incorporate this into a lifestyle so that we never go back to do it again. If you give yourself 2 weeks and just recognize that 14 days, it might be the hardest 14 days of your life. Who knows? Or it might be quite simple. Like you came through it pretty unscathed. You were pretty robust.
Yeah.
It was challenging, and obviously because you and I love to go out on dates and have a red wine, and we love like fish and chips, like not eating fried food and stuff like that. We love that stuff, So not doing that was obviously challenging. There was a lot more time to think.
Yeah.
Because we couldn't, render ourselves unconscious through food or go out on a date or go to someone's house, so we were just thinking and talking a lot and, watching more. But, recognize that if it is really challenging for you, it's also going to be probably one of the most profound things you'll ever do, because if you can get your diet right, the far-reaching effects of your diet is unbelievable. And I'd heard that my whole life. Mac had been lecturing us since we've been mates, when we started our podcast, early 2016. He'd been into this stuff forever. I was like, yeah, whatever, man, whatever, this big fucking ripped guy telling me that I need to sort my life out. And I'm like, yeah, whatever, man, I don't need to listen to you. But he's spot on. He's spot on.
Yeah, it's so true.
And we just wanted to do this show for us. It's got nothing to do with Mac and the fact that we're mates with him already. It's just such a cool
I wanted
thing
to share
talk about.
I did a post. I think it was one of it got so many comments on it about my period pain. And it was kind of about me getting vulnerable because, all my community are so vulnerable with me because, breathwork is a vulnerable healing tool. So I shared with them that my healing journey right now that I'm working through is to do with my period pains. And so many women reached out to me being like, hey, I'm the same. The reason I wanted to do this show is to share this with them and be like, hey, maybe you could try this too, or you could really think about different options for looking at it. Because one, getting this, like, if it's leading to an operation, I think it's like $14,000 for the operation. It's like, no. And two, like, if you can try and change your body and your hormones through food, wouldn't you rather do that, like, than, just mask it with the operation and the operation's not even like super successful. I think it's like it can or it can't be, or you might have to get another one. Whereas this diet is something you can continuously work on and come back to all the time. It's a tool, like it's something that you can keep using. But what's funny is I get anxiety around my periods now, and I get anxious coming up to them every month, or when one of them's over, I'm like, oh well, fuck, well, I've got the next one next month, obviously, and I'm actually extremely lucky that I get them, but they're the most excruciating thing in the world. And now I'm like, I'm so keen for next one. Like I fucking can't wait. Cause I'm like, what's going to happen? Will I be, I'm hoping I'll be even better because I would have done the program for 6 weeks then. And hopefully by then our DNA results are in, which will be even more, specific to and unique to our bodies as well. So yeah, it's just taken away so much pressure and weight and thinking.
I know. It is a bit weird that, like, you said, obviously my community is very vulnerable with me, so I'm going to be very vulnerable about what's going on with me. It's interesting that, like, talking about your period is a vulnerable thing.
I know.
Because it's like what happens to 51% of the population.
Yeah. And what was it?
No, you go.
No, I was just going to say, and men, like, they all came out of a vagina. So,
Yeah.
It's true though. Like, when it's not really vulnerable. It's just talking about something that's normal, and that's where we all came.
Exactly.
That's where we all came from, But no, the guys that listen to my show and that are a part of my community, they listen to all this as well. They're just, everyone's really open about it. And, it's just a really cool bunch of people. So I feel like people, even guys listening to the show, I mean, you had an experience going through it in a totally different way. And you also lost weight as well. You lost all your inflammation too. Like we did before and after photos, and Tom got shredded.
I know. Hopefully,
and you are anyway. Like you have a really good body anyway. And then that just kind of like just tightened you up a little bit or something, didn't it?
Yes. No, but it did.
Because you were shredded, so it got you more shredded.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's I feel like it lost a lot of my water weight, and you could see that I wasn't inflamed. You can actually see like the puffiness in my body before, and I was already fit and healthy, but I just looked leaner on the other side now, and I've never really cared too much about how I look within reason. I think it's good. It's important to care how you look, because you want to, it's your body. But I was always more interested in what my body could do, within my sport, whether it was footy or CrossFit or jiu-jitsu, and just the amount of energy that I have now. My tactic has just been to wear my opponents down, by constantly making it hard for them to achieve more dominant positions, and then just get a really easy tap from from like a simple submission or something. It doesn't always work, but it's a good tactic, because my energy levels are so much better than they were now. But it's our experiences were awesome, and what's so cool is seeing what other people's experiences as well. Whether it's women in their periods, PCOS symptoms, women getting pregnant.
Yes, that's the other thing. Yeah. Well, obviously, if you've got like period, pains or issues or troubles, that's all in touch with your fertility and your reproductive system. So obviously it's going to affect that. And then you hear women, I think they call them like unrivaled babies, because it's like unrivaled being, that's the business. And they call them unrivaled babies, because the program has helped people get pregnant. It's phenomenal. And this is just food. Like, it's just awareness of what's going into your body. So, but if anyone does do it, Mac also has a podcast. Is it the Unrivaled Being podcast?
Pretty sure. Or Becoming Unrivaled or something like that.
Yeah, I'll link it in the show notes. But that he's just got so much information in terms of hormones and what's going on. We don't talk about that. We're just talking about like what it's done for us. But if you want to dive in deeper, then he is his podcast will definitely be one to listen to find out more. But we're going to do this as like our first show for the reset. And obviously now we're starting to integrate the different food groups, which were guided all the way through on what day to do it and how to do it and how to integrate it. And then when our DNA comes back, we're going to do another show about that, because it's just like, isn't it just so good knowing that it's like this is going to tell you like what to eat for the rest of your life,
That's it.
Like it's so like it's such, again, another weight off the shoulders. Like
that's it. I remember saying that to him as well. Like, it's just, look, your genes don't change. 50%. People think, and there's so much debate around this, but with neuroplasticity and the ability for us to change our biological blueprint or whatever it is, but genes kind of offer 50% of who you can be, and then the other 50% is social interactions, what you're interested in, how you can motivate yourself, and all that kind of stuff as well. But 50% is heaps. And if you can eat in tune with 50% of who you are, or if you can at least work in unison with 50% of who you are, that's going to have a massive effect on everything in your life, your mental health and all that kind of stuff. And there's two things that come up for me when I think about this. And one, I was always worried, it's like, well, if I start to get this right, I will never be able to go back to, how I used to eat. I don't really want to.
No, that was the other thing. It kind of put me off thinking about like, say on the weekend, like we went out for Tom's birthday, and the place that we go to, I'm obsessed with having their fish and chips there. Like, it's what I get. And we were on our way there, and I was like, even the thought of eating fried food makes me want to vomit. And it's something I would look forward to every time we went to the pub. And I just couldn't even think about doing it. So it just really does change your mindset. But at the same time, I think, is this what you were going to say? Like, you can still eat that as long as you eat for your DNA around it. So the body's still getting that intake during the day. It allows you space to eat foods like that because you're repairing before and afterwards.
That's it. That's exactly right. And that's just life in general. You know, if you spend a night going out partying, go for it. Have the most fun you can possibly have. But after that, you know, what will be better for you in the long run? I'm saying the most obvious thing in the world is getting good sleep, drinking plenty of water, you know, getting back into the swing of things like work-life balance, diet balance, you know, 80-20, all this kind of stuff. It's just good to know now that the 80, you know, the predominantly good side of my diet, I know what to do there. You know, I know now that I can do that, and that it's not that hard. And that with the Facebook group, people are posting the most delicious looking foods, and we've had a crack at a few of them, and they taste great.
Yeah,
they actually really taste good. I don't feel like I'm missing out anymore, which was always my worry.
Yeah, it's so true. It's flexibility, isn't it? Like it's not so strict that you can't still live. Like, you know, we're all foodies. I think everyone's foodies, especially in Australia. You know, everyone loves their food. The cafe scene is amazing. You know, and there's coffee in it, guys. You're allowed coffee, and I don't even drink coffee anymore. You're allowed coffee. Yeah, and it's funny you're saying that in terms of mental health. You know, what's that quote? I think I've posted it before. The empty vessel makes the loudest sound. Something like that. Something along the lines of that. Anyway, speaking of, when I was so clean during this 2 weeks, my meditations, my breath work, our dreams were so fucking vivid, like so crazy, the most clearest visions, realizations, messages. Like my meditations, I just dropped in faster than I ever have before. Like my mind was just clear. Like there was, I don't know how that works, like maybe inflammation or just fuzziness or brain fog, you know, just gone. And this was obviously towards the end of the 2 weeks, definitely not at the start because it was hard work. I felt so clear. I remember every morning it's like, did you dream crazy? Like, yes. Like our dreams were just, it was like we lived a second day.
I know. It's so true.
We had the craziest dreams. So, you know, it's just you know more about dreams, just your mental state, just processing, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's, if you can drop in and access the subconscious faster, you know, because it's like, you know, from a practical standpoint, what keeps you conscious is a lot of the time it's thinking unconsciously sometimes about basic survival needs, you know, going to the toilet, eating food, doing things that you need to do, the routine and all that kind of stuff. So, you know, when you have a stricter diet or when you're doing something temporarily, because that's so disciplined, you don't need to think about it.
Yeah.
So then it creates all this space for you to think about other things. Yeah. And that's where the messages, as you say, or the circuit breakers, as I say, can come in, because it's now you've got all this time to think about other stuff. Like when you go for a float, it's like, okay, I'm going to give myself an hour to just do nothing. And then all of a sudden, oh shit, yeah, I didn't do this, or I haven't done this, or I haven't thought about that person in years, or I haven't done this thing in years. And, you know, it can be really quite fascinating to see who you are outside of your routines.
Yeah, so true. So true. But yeah, I feel like that's like all we really need to like say on it. It was just, you know, the most amazing transformation for both of us. And in turn, what would you say is your biggest takeaway from doing the reset?
Biggest takeaway from doing the reset? It's a good question. I would say now that I'm on the outside of it, how easy it is for me to maintain. You know, I wouldn't go back, not for a while anyway. I might end up doing it again or something, but I wouldn't go back into the strict 14-day reset because I found that really challenging mentally.
Well,
but
you're not meant to anyway. That's why it's only 2 weeks, you know.
Exactly right. And he says that too. But now that I'm on the other side of it, I'm just so pumped that I know that staying healthy is actually quite simple. Yeah. And I struggled with that. It's probably one of the things why I never really did this before, because I always thought it meant like, oh, well, I can only eat this and I can only eat this. But that's just not the case at all. So I'm just so happy that I've done it, because I know that maintaining it is going to be well within my reach. I think a lot of people struggle with that. They go, yeah, I can eat healthy, and they do it for a couple of weeks, but they don't do it in a way that's sustainable. Yeah. And this is the reset was so sustainable, because as you said in the beginning of this podcast, there was never a restriction on the quantity of food.
No, you can eat so much food. Like, honestly,
you can try to eat as much as you possibly can if you wanted to do that.
I was eating man-sized plates, like your size of food. And normally I eat the smallest portions. Like, I'm not a massive eater, if that's a word, but I ate I just had these like massive omelets, and seriously,
they were amazing. Yeah,
I was, and I hate cooking. It's if there was anything I say I hated the most, it's cooking. I cannot stand it. It needs to take me less than 2 minutes, and I'm on. But with this, I'm like, I'm going to make this and make this. Like, I was actually open to being creative with my food, because I kind of had to be. But yeah, you could eat unlimited food.
Yeah, that's what's so good about it, because everyone's turned off with this stuff because they go, well, I just don't want to only be able to eat a fistful of meat, a fistful of veggies.
It's not that cool.
Do whatever you need to do.
And we both lost weight.
And we both lost weight, and we ate more. That's so true. We ate more. Yeah. So yeah, it was awesome. The biggest takeaway for me was learning how sustainable it's going to be.
Yeah, I like that. That your food controls your hormones. That's it. Like, seriously, I just think this is such a good discussion to share with everyone. Like, if this helps one person takes away a little bit of nugget of information, I will be happy that we did this program, so someone else can benefit from this podcast and from us doing it. And I also, before we finish up, I said to Maka that we're going to do a podcast on this, and that some of my community experience exactly what I do. And he's actually given me my own link with a huge fucking discount to share with everyone. So I'm going to put it in the show notes. I know, how lovely. Like, I think it's a couple $100 discount. Like, it's crazy. What? Yeah. Wow. So I'm going to put the link in the show notes. And if you guys are even slightly interested.
What was that discount?
Yeah, true. Well, whatever. We did it. We've done it now. It was true. I would pay so much more money to do it.
No, of course. So would I.
I'm going to put the link in the show notes. And if you guys are even slightly interested, just check it out, or reach out to myself and Tom and just ask. And if you do it, it will be exciting, because you'll be in the Facebook group with us. We're going to be in it because we're doing the DNA. So we'll be in it forever, probably. Totally. Yeah, and just reach out, because I know heaps of people were interested in this when I mentioned it in my Instagram stories, and everyone's like, what is it? I want to know. And now you know. Obviously, we didn't go into too much, we didn't go into detail about stuff we didn't know. Again, this is our personal experience, what happened to us and our results. Every single person, same as breath work, is unique. We'll have a different experience, different changes, different bodies, so everyone will have different results at the end of it. But if you're someone like me that suffers extreme period pain, or even just period pain, it's not normal. And this is something that might help. It's even just worth trying it to see if it helps.
Well, you're so professional on the podcast. You're really good at this.
Thanks a lot for adding that into my show.
No, it's good. It's good. I love it. It's really good. You've only been doing it for a year. I think I told you this every time we do a show, I'm like, fucking hell. This is good.
No one cares. But you can tell me after the show. We're in the same fucking house in different rooms.
I know.
But anyway, thank you for that. I love that. Anyway, anything else to add while you're there, Tom? It's not related to the reset.
No, I'm about to mow the lawn.
Yeah, you are. So... Why are you mowing the lawn?
Oh God, I know. I can't believe it.
Tell everyone what you said, what it's like being with me.
Well, going out with Siobhan, ladies and gentlemen, is a roller coaster ride. I love it. But there's never a dull moment. And going from not having any dogs to having one dog to having a second dog to now fostering dogs is going to be interesting, and we are looking forward to having a new 9-year-old beagle join us in the home for a couple of weeks tomorrow. So I said, but you wanted to get a little puppy, and you want a goat and a horse and a llama and a duck and a chicken. You want everything, and maybe one day when we're if we live on a farm or something like that.
The goal is to live on a farm, but my next thing, obviously, as you know, I've grown up with horses, so I really want to rescue one. But tomorrow is our first foster. We're a part of the foster care for Beagle Rescue. Mm-hmm. If you can foster, please check them out. I have such a big soft spot, obviously, for rescuing beagles. So tomorrow we have Spot coming into our house, which I'm so excited. He's been at RSPCA for 6 weeks. He's 9 years old and has a heart murmur. So, he's just so stressed out at the RSPCA locked out. And we're just going to give him so much loving. I've literally cleared my calendar tomorrow to spend time loving on a dog. Whatever, I'm giving back. And I feel really good about it, and I'm excited.
And it's easy because we have 2 very well integrated socialized beagles here. So he'll be able to fall into that and figure out pretty quickly what's to be expected and what's not to be expected. And, the other thing as well, I just wanted to state, that I don't feel pulled at all. I really am excited about this as well. And, you and I have been watching so many Caesar Milan's dog training videos. And his whole idea is train the people, not the dogs. It's not the dogs that are the issue. It's the owners.
It's the owners.
So if you get it right, you make sure they know who the boss is. They are the best things in the world. They're literally born and evolved to be your best friend. 60,000 years ago, they were wolves. Wolves realized very quickly that if they become best friends with the humans are much better hunters than they are. So they can get all the food as well, so long as they do what the humans say. So if you make sure that they know that you're the alpha, they will lighten your life like anything, And what Tammy does at Beagle Rescue is unbelievable.
Incredible.
She's got her hands full,
Yeah.
So.
And now we're helping. So I'm very, very excited to have our first dog tomorrow. Oh, completely and utterly off topic, but I hope you enjoyed that little section. And any questions about this, please reach out, and also reach out to Mac. He's so incredible for, getting back to you, giving you as much information as you need. Check out their podcasters too. I'll link it in the show notes, and I'll put in my link with my incredible discount, which was so lovely of him to give it to you guys. He's super passionate about this, just like I am about breath work. It's going to be, it's life-changing shit. And I just want everyone, and if you think this podcast will benefit anyone, or someone that's going through some sort of, hormonal pain or issue, please send this to them. I would love, just to help one person.
That's it.
Cool. Totally. Well, thank you so much for sharing, Tom, because I know you went through, a tough 2 weeks.
I know. It was fascinating. It's probably you going through a tougher time with Tom than you going through a tougher time with the dog.
I know. Mac was like, you guys should do it, together, because it's easier in the same household. Lies. It was so much harder doing it with Tom. I wish I did it on my own. But anyway, Tom did it, got a breakthrough. I did it, got a huge breakthrough. And we're on the other end.
Yay. Yeah, absolutely. That was fun.
Cool. Well, thank you, Tom. And any questions, anyone, just reach out, and I'll see y'all next time.